Hey guys, welcome to the Political Peasants Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ray, along with my friend Kenneth, who both discuss the political news and events here in the United States. So, with that being said, let's get into today's show, shall we? Hey guys, welcome back to the Political Peasants Podcast. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's been a while, and we
Especially
got
on
good
YouTube.
news. Yeah. By the way, I need to announce this is because I'm so used to just starting and going right to the topics. We're coming back to YouTube. This video essentially is going to YouTube. It's nice to see you guys. It's been a while. Make sure to check out this podcast. It's also available on Spotify, iTunes, and what's it called? I think it was
SoundCloud.
Spotify and SoundCloud. Yes, for sure. So you can check it out and now on YouTube, obviously. So you could watch it anywhere. And for all you supporters because I know a lot of you have been asking, where's the podcast? You have been saying that you have a podcast. It's because we don't upload it to YouTube, but now we're doing so. So welcome back, guys.
The Redemption Saga.
We want to start the podcast by giving you guys some good news. It seems that Donald Trump has given some leeway into the transition for Joe Biden to take power. At least Joe Biden now has the budget that he's been asking for. I know we had this conversation in the last podcast. It wasn't more like a conversation; it was more like an argument. But that we had for like for like a couple of minutes where we said no, we should not give money to Biden, right? But now,
you said that. I said you should.
no, that was the argument I had. You know what I mean?
All right.
Obviously, you said that you wanted to give the whole war to Biden, but that's you, okay? But anyway, so guys, but it
Biden is
seems,
the Lord and Savior.
but it seems right here that that Donald Trump has given permission to the GSA Emily Murphy to start giving some leeway to Joe Biden to start getting the press briefings, to get the budget that is needed for him to take over, and all this it needed information for Biden to be able to be ready when he takes over the White House position as president of the United States on January. And that's great news because, one, we don't have to give him money anymore. Two, Donald Trump is kind of giving up, and this is a huge hint that he's kind of like accepting the reality that he lost. We could say that is not entirely true because he's still saying we're gonna still go battle this the legal way. We're still gonna start, making lawsuits here and there. But his supporters are catching up. His supporters are already saying, "Look, you guys promised us all these huge legal battles, and most of them being dismissed. What's up? What's up with that, man?" So, what do you think about all this, Kenneth?
I mean, so going back to the part of Trump giving up, you gotta give it to him. He knows how to spend things. Like you see on the screen, his Twitter, where he says, "Oh, I'm tired of my people being harassed, tired of the employees being threatened." He just completely turned it around, right? Instead of saying I gave up, it's like, nah, I'm trying to protect them. The second thing was that what was her name? She was part of Trump's legal team. She was kind of crazy, and she was fired a couple days ago. I always forget her name. Look it up.
I know what you're really talking about, but I know a lot of people recently has been fired by Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
And that's just a cap. It's a cap for him not admitting that he's doing a pretty terrible job right now handling the situation.
That was her name, Sidney Powell, right? So she was the woman there with the cheetah blazer. During their with Rudy Giuliani during the press conference where he was melting or his hair dye was going down his neck, and they fired her. And a lot of people speculate the reason why they did fire her was because she said she was going to have this huge, amount of evidence that she was about to show, and then she got fired right before she could show it. So people speculated that it was just nothing. It was all imaginary, right? And then again, Giuliani and his team of lawyers, or Trump and his team of lawyers, they lie to the public. They go on YouTube and lie. They go on Twitter and lie day in day out. On the news media, they go out and lie, right? But as soon as they get into court, right, where it's illegal to lie, where there's actual consequences to lie, they tell the truth, and their cases keep getting dismissed. I mean, they had like what 12 lawsuits dismissed in like Georgia. They had like I think like 5 dismissed in Pennsylvania. Like it's just um so many lies that they keep riling up their supporters with, and then when it comes time to prove it, nothing happens. Like I think what yesterday or today, you had a politician from Georgia say Trump won Georgia even though he didn't, just because just because he wanted Trump to win Georgia. And even you said now their supporters are turning on them. It's the expected outcome. Like I said, they keep riling them up. They keep saying we're going to do X, Y, and Z. A lot of Trump supporters are okay with being under authoritarian rule, right? They're like, yeah, Trump, overthrow and F it. It's about time. Let's get him in there, right? Um, but now that the reality is kicking in, where it's just like, yeah, you can't keep up these legal battles forever. You're guaranteed out of the White House on January 20th. People, once you're not president anymore, like and you try to keep that power, people will try to kill you. Uh, I think he realized like, yo, game is over. I paid my bills with that donation money. Time for me to get out of there. And he's leaving his supporters high and dry, just like the people who give him loans, just like the banks who give him loans for his businesses. Makes his money, leaves him high and dry.
Yeah, essentially, we all knew that this was gonna come sooner or later, where
Yeah,
he's gonna start making the transition into, okay, now it's time for me to start like getting out of this, because there's no like, what's next? You already did the lawsuits. You already did this huge, like, press thing where you were like outraged by the outcome and you couldn't believe it. How, and this must be rigged. Everything
yeah,
must be against me. Da 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 da. And the way to go for me not to really accept that I was defeated by Joe Biden is through all these lawsuits, pointless lawsuits, that more likely were going to be dismissed because of lack of proof.
yeah,
And there we have it. Like most of the most are being dismissed. You had the press conference where Rudy Giuliani, I can't even say his last name that well.
yeah. Giuliani.
Giuliani, and that other lawyer that got fired by him,
Sidney Powell.
and essentially, look, if you guys saw that briefing, was just a huge joke. They're essentially their main excuse was that the voting machines came from Venezuela and Venezuela has stolen the election.
Yeah, no, they
I was
came from
like,
Venezuela, and then they were rigged to send the votes to like I think China or something, or Germany, where they changed them and then sent them back. It was completely unhinged. It made no sense. And again, if that was a concern of theirs, 2018 Democrats tried to pass a bill where they increase voter security. Republicans shot it down 100%, and you see why. You see why right now. And even still, with the within Georgia, they had paper ballots as a backup, and you see that Georgia flipped blue for the first time in a long time. So it's it's showing that this election cycle just wasn't in Trump's favor. I mean, he was a bad president. Like you just can't doubt it. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot more people voted for Trump than they did in 2016. Let's keep that straight. But a lot of people voted in this election period, and then a lot more people voted for Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden won more votes than like any president in history.
Yeah, 80 million votes right now counting.
Right. That's what I was telling you. Like so many people voted in this election. Like more than like any time before. Like usually it's like what 40%. Actually, not even 40%. Like maybe like what 30-40% of the whole voter base votes, and then so like it ends up getting chosen by like a very small minority of people, the president. But now this time it was like almost like I think 80-90% of the voters voted. And so it was just crazy. I mean, people when it really went out there and they were just like, no man, like F Trump.
I
F
mean,
Trump.
let me. I just we want to say this again. It's not because Joe Biden was this like angel from heaven, that we needed as a candidate to defeat Trump.
Right.
Right? It's just that people just hated Donald Trump that much. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it was I think it was a few things, right? Well, no, you're I think the reason Joe Biden got elected was because they just hated Donald Trump. There's studies to prove that. But I also think that it was a rebuke on centrist values. I mean, Republican values as well. As I said, like you take a look at the system and it's just like this year, right, was
uh,
extreme as it could have gone, right? It was extreme is as extreme as any year could have gone. If there was one scenario, if there was one year where the US government needed to take drastic action, it was this year. But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Well, they did it for the business sector, but they didn't do it for anyone else. And a lot of people are just like, screw that. Like I said, we've said it multiple times. When people were talking, every American, most Americans wanted Medicare for all. All the politicians were like, no, we don't want Medicare for all. And then it was like, okay, cool. Now there's a pandemic. Everyone's like, look, we need Medicare for all. And they ran out of excuses. It's like, oh, well, they want their employee health care. Clearly, what employer? Like they're all fired. They're at home. They're unemployed. So now they got no health care. And it was like, it showed everyone like, hey, you need health care this year. You need Medicare for all. And that's why you see every candidate who voted for who wanted Medicare for all won. And most of the candidates who didn't want Medicare for all lost because that's how that went. Because people want common sense, not just corruption.
I mean, essentially, Donald Trump's last year as president, it was a very good argument in favor of a lot of these socialist programs to get into, to become the main point of view of the United States politics in general. And because a lot of people are already saying like no, not a lot of people like these ideas anyway, and
Right.
that's what one of the main arguments a lot of establishment Democrats and Republicans brought into the table. Like
Right.
nobody likes this, nobody's in favor, but it turns out that a lot of people are in favor of Medicare for all, the Green New
Yeah.
Deal, and
Yeah. I mean, you just had. I mean, this year you had what Joyanne Reed, right? Was that her name? Yeah, Joyanne Reed. And she in March she was like, "Oh man, Medicare for all. No one wants that. People like their employer health care. Yada yada yada." Then as soon as the coronavirus like actually became serious, she was like, "Oh, we need Medicare for all. Like this is the only way." I was like, "You don't say." Like you don't say. Like who would have guessed that something like this could happen? Everybody. Well, everyone who's not paid to lie. Yeah.
everyone's not paid to lie. Anyways, let's move on to uh, you know Joe Biden. Right, essentially, he's gotten the budget that he needed. Right, he cannot really complain anymore. He better give up all those small donations that he asked for. He's not gonna do. He's not gonna do it. But now he's been working on getting ready for the day he takes over the White House. And lately, I think we heard about he selected Pics for the cabinet. Right.
Yes.
It seems that there are gonna be a lot of like people who happen to be first time female that female position here, female position there, first Latino taking over a certain position in the Biden's cabinet. I think some of them is we got Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, first Latino being Secretary of Homeland Security. We have first female national intelligence director, April Haynes, and then first UN ambassador female, Linda Thomas Greenfield, being appointed to that position. And a lot of people was like, yes, yeah, yeah. All right, first female. Thank God things are changing. And us is like, no, most of these people are like in favor of Wall Street, in favor of the establishment, not really big changes. I mean, yeah, we're being like minorities are being now given a chance to take a position of power, but that's it. And that's essentially what's the argument that the GOP brought to the table. We have someone we had someone like Rubio, Marco Rubio, come in here and said, look, I'm against this. I'm against these
Right.
picks because they all happen to be Ivy League people. People that come from Harvard, people that come from Purdue, some like top Ivy League schools, and
Like Harvard, Yale,
that's
all that
essentially
good
what's
stuff.
his argument. I was like, and most people was like, "What are you talking about, dude?" Most picks that Donald Trump had in his cabinet were also Ivy League people, right? We got
Yep.
William Barr right here. Let me put it on the screen. We have William Barr here from Colombia, Mike Pompeo, Harvard, Steve Munchin, Yale, Elaine Chao, Harvard, Alex Azar, Dartmouth and Yale, Alex Acosta, Harvard, Mark Esper, Harvard, Dr. Bern Carson, Yale. So I don't know
Yeah.
what your argument is, dude. Like,
Yeah. And Elaine Chao was Mitch McConnell's wife.
but
Yep.
but I'm saying like it dominates a weakest argument that you just to have someone position against Biden. You get me?
Yeah.
And it's kind of pointless. Like, bro, like you could have said no. Those people are gonna sell Wall Street and not the people. That would be a real argument he could make. But
But
obviously,
he doesn't
obviously,
want to make that.
he's not gonna make that argument because first of all, he accepted Donald Trump's cabinet, and that's like Wall Street people. That's bank. That's private sector 101.
These
That's
are, I think, what I forgot. It was a guest on the hill that said it, right? Which was he said amateur hour was over, and he's right. That's what this is. This is what you have are back to. I mean, Trump was the swamp, right? He was just a really stupid swamp, but a really stupid and inexperienced swamp. But what you have now is the swamp. With Biden, you have the swamp, but an experienced, not as stupid swamp. And so it's
yeah,
like, so they're going right back. I mean, they've already started building committees uh, to, well, I should say they already started building like lobbyist groups to get close to Joe Biden. They already started like reaching out to other countries, other companies, all that. So like they've already started this already. Like this process is already in the making, and they are not going to stop. The only difference is that unlike Trump, these guys know how to hit the ground running when doing it. That's exactly what they're going to do. So
yeah. I
but
mean,
Trump struggled in the beginning before he was able to really get through with it. These guys are just going to be like right on it from day one.
these people did serve for the Obama administration back in I think the last 4 years, and obviously they're like you said they're well experienced people, well
No.
experienced when it comes to being part of the establishment as well. They're very linked to different positions within Wall Street, as well as like different like positions within private banks.
Yeah, they have. They're
Um,
coming from. They're coming from private banks. They're well, big banks, private equity. All that kind of stuff. Lobbyists, like they're coming from the swamp. Like I said, they're lobbyists, private equity people, bankers. Like always, like always. If you want to know why these guys get away with murder, that's why.
that's why. What the? Man, and it's sad that we had to still talk about this shit where the obvious was the obvious, right? Once
Yeah,
the Joe Biden got elected, we all knew that he was going to bring a lot of conservative people into his cabinet positions, as well
yeah,
as a lot of people who were pro Wall Street, pro private bank sectors, pro oil industry. And even then, like, and I told you as well that the GOP will be the first ones to say, hell no. Like, what? You want more like irrational people, more like
Yeah, no,
mm,
they're gonna block it up completely. Look, that's Republicans have every plan to just block everything. They got to keep doing it because as long as it's blocked, you can't change the rules that Trump put into place.
but even then, like that's their strategy. That was a strategy with Barack Obama, and it was
Yeah,
very successful. I wanted to mention because Barack Obama saw that shit and it's like, you know what, I need to go farther to the right because
yeah.
I need to unify the country. I need
No, I mean,
to
that's the thing. Like the only reason why it worked versus Obama because it's like you just said. I mean, well, you implied, which was he decided to go right. He could have gone left, but he didn't want to. He decided to go right because it's like everyone says. Like once you get a taste of Medicare for all, you're not gonna be like, oh man, yeah, let's go back to what it used to be. They know that. Everyone knows that. No one is stupid. That's why they keep trying to attack Obamacare around the edges, right? Because Obamacare is not great, but it was good enough. And so they don't want to like go out there and be like, oh man, F Obamacare. So they say, oh man, let's give it a mandate, the tax mandate. Oh, let's stop advertising it. Okay, cool. Let's cut the budget for the website. Like they keep doing it so that it makes it look worse than it actually is. And then by doing that, it turns people against it. But it hasn't. That's the thing, it hasn't. And then on top of that, people still want the pre-existing conditions clause. Like, no, don't get rid of that. So they can't attack it. So like they attack it, but they can't hurt it enough to get people to hate it because it's better than what they had. And so they're really afraid, and even like the Democrats are afraid of Medicare for all because once people get a taste of, hey, I could just walk into the doctor's office and I don't have to worry about anything, right? Or I just got COVID, I'm cool, or I had to get this $300,000 surgery and it was free, then they know people are not going to want to go back to, oh, I hope you have a good job with some benefits, so
yeah
you can get that surgery. Like
and get like
they're not
partial
going to want to do it,
coverage.
right? They're not
Yeah,
going to want to
yeah,
do it, and
yeah.
so it's like that's why they don't. That's why they're trying so hard to kill the idea. That's why you saw like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all these people say, "Oh, I don't support Medicare for all. I support a public option." How often have you heard about the public option lately, Ray?
Never.
Exactly, because it was just to get Medicare for all Bernie Sanders right up out of there. And once he got beaten, it was just like, oh, F that. We don't do any of that. Let's go back and get some tax cuts.
Yeah, we all knew that they were gonna do that, right? They were gonna pivot into look, even we saw that, right? The moment that Joe
Definitely.
that Bernie Sanders lost, Wall Street and the newspapers came out. Look, Wall Street's relief that Bernie Sanders losing, and it's losing to Joe Biden. Like, what perfect match for us, establishment, our establishment, pharmaceuticals, the companies, all these like insurance companies were very relieved that Joe Biden had won against Bernie Sanders, and they were even more relieved that that Joe Biden picked someone like Kamala Harris for vice
Yeah.
president because they were like, who is gonna pick as his successor if something happens to him, right?
Yeah.
Because the main arguments against Joe Biden during the general elections were like, is he capable of running if he gets elected, right?
Right.
But who's gonna take over him if something happens to him, right?
Right.
So they were worried that someone like Elizabeth Warren was gonna come in and you know how Elizabeth Warren, like we have our own opinions about her and how bad she is as a candidate and and also as
Yeah.
a politician, but she was very against Wall Street, and he was very pro regulating banks and all this shit. So they didn't like the idea that Elizabeth Warren might have been picked as vice president, but then they decided Kamala Harris, and they already knew that Kamala Harris, like, she likes to say one thing and then the other thing, and then the next day she would change her mind because if you guys don't remember, Kamala Harris was pro Medicare for all.
Yeah.
She
No,
was
she only during
yeah
the primaries.
yeah so at the beginning she was pro Medicare for all, and then I think it was the CNN host came and I pressed against her to talk about Medicare for all and why she was pro Medicare for all, and she couldn't answer because what she
No, no,
really
that's no. What
she
happened was
no, because she couldn't answer. You saw like when they asked her why she was in favor of Medicare for all, she couldn't give an actual
no,
good
no.
explanation why.
What happened was in the first. I think it was the first debate, maybe the second one. They asked, "Hey, everyone on the stage, who who supports Medicare for all?" She rose her hand. Bernie Sanders rose his hand. I think Elizabeth Warren rose her hand. Right after the debate was over, at the end, after everyone stopped paying attention, right after everyone who cared stopped paying attention, they asked her, "Hey, why do you support Medicare for all?" And she was like, "I don't support Medicare for all." And she's like, on the stage, you rose your hand. Oh, I misheard the question. I was like, sure, sure, you misheard the question. It's because most people tune in at the beginning and it falls off over time. So she knew by getting most people in the beginning that she was they would see her support Medicare for all, and then she'll flip a 180 when it comes to the heavy details. Right. And then, you saw it throughout the whole thing. I mean, a lot of people, like I said, we talk about Joe Biden went South Carolina, right? And Bernie Sanders went Nevada. When they asked the voters in South Carolina, hey, why'd you vote for Joe Biden? They said, oh, because he supports Medicare for all. And then the reporter was like, he doesn't support Medicare for all. I was like, what? I thought he supported Medicare for all.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, it was just like, that's what happened. Like, that's the point. Like, the media specifically leave out details so stuff like that can happen. It's like one of the common ones we bring up all the time on this show is what when Elizabeth Warren said Bernie Sanders said a woman couldn't win. They were like, "Oh, Bernie Sanders, why'd you say Elizabeth Warren women couldn't win?" Bernie Sanders said, I didn't say that." And they went to Elizabeth Warren. Was like, "How'd you feel when he said that?" When Bernie Sanders said women couldn't win, he was like, "What?" But when Bernie Sanders went and said Joe Biden wanted to cut Medicare for all, he had a whole speech about it. They were completely silent. They said, "Joe," like even though there's a video of it. Really, there's more proof about that than there is of of Bernie Sanders saying that woman couldn't win the presidency, right? But they just say it completely silent. They're just like, okay, Joe, what do you have to say? Your turn. They just say, oh, why do you want to support Medicare? Why did you want to cut Social Security, Joe? Never asked them.
yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
that's the point. Like that's the kind of line they do. They lie by omission. They don't straight up. Well, Fox News straight up tells you a lie, but most of it was don't lie to you. What they do is they leave out the details, or they stay coincidentally silent, or not coincidentally, but they decide to be suspiciously silent on times where it matters, right? Conveniently. And then when they want to hurt someone, they'll give every detail of the rest. So, like I said, they were able to pull up a VHS of Bernie Sanders in the 80s talking about how he supported Castro, but they couldn't go back to 1998 where Joe Biden said, let's cut Social Security. Come on. Come on, guys. That's bull.
Yeah,
Like,
we know the establishment media was very in favor of people like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. They never actually put him in the spot like that, like they did with Bernie Sanders, right? And that's why
definitely.
Bernie Sanders was, his image was pretty much hurt throughout in 2016 as well as in 2020,
Yep.
because people really believe that all the things that the media said about him, right? Which was very
Oh yeah, of
gullible,
course. I mean,
right?
at every turn it was like, oh, how come you're getting less votes than this time around, Bernie Sanders? Like Bernie Sanders is getting less votes. I'm like, there's like 11 candidates on the stage. No shit, no, she's gonna get less votes. There was only two last time, and it's just like they purposely tried to hurt progressive candidates and progressive causes. And I feel sorry for Elizabeth Warren because I guarantee you she ain't getting nothing in this administration.
Bro, I mean, I hope, like, if it's between her and establishment Democrat, obviously most people say, okay, let's leave her there.
Yeah.
But if it's between someone more progressive and her, I'm sorry, most people are gonna pick against her, because I think people are already fed up with her. She
Oh yeah, I mean
chose
she's the second most hated senator in the country. The number one is Susan Collins, Republican, Maine.
that, and that's sad. I mean, as
Yeah,
much as I would like to put my little, you know, a little pour a little bit of sand on myself and say, look, I hate her too for these reasons. It's just sad because at some point she had a lot of potential to be something greater than himself, and fight for the actual issues. But she chose her career over, you know,
Yeah, that's really the thing because you see it happen kind of all too often. I mean, they get scared, make some ridiculous political calculation that doesn't even make sense, right? And then once they make that political calculation and it doesn't come true, they're like, "Oh, I don't know what happened." It's like, "I know what happened. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about." That's what happened. Like that's crazy. I mean, like you saw it. You saw it this past couple of weeks when most progressive won their races in purple districts, even some red districts, right? All the centrists, most of the centrists lost, and a lot of the right wingers lost too. The Democrats, I mean, and for some straight hell, even you could just look at Georgia. The more progressive candidate in Georgia is winning. The less progressive candidate in Georgia is losing, and yeah, somehow the media is like, "Oh, we need to get rid of left. It was too extreme." The only person, Cori Bush, right, who ran on defund the police, she won.
yeah, surprisingly, she won, and most people say, "Oh, you cannot do that." Even like
Yeah,
a lot of establishment Democrats were saying, like, don't even dare to run on that. That's the
yeah,
worst thing you could do." And she wins, not
yeah.
just the just
The squad stomped all their opponents, and then the two new members of the squad was Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush stomped their opponent. Amy McGrath got stomped. She was a centrist, got stomped by Mitch McConnell hard. Like I think he beat her by like what 40, 50 points. Like it was like they didn't stand a chance, but somehow it's the progressive's fault, which is exactly what we said they're going to do in March, April. Then we say that they were going to do that whenever they take a loss, they're going to turn around and say, "Oh, it's the progressive's fault for doing X, Y, Z." Predictable because they can't accept the fact that they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and so they want to keep their power. They don't know what they're doing, but they want to keep the power so they can keep making the decision, which keeps causing us to lose. That's why Democrats are so weak right now because they keep letting these guys leech off them and doing nothing to stop it.
yeah, and that's our main argument against the Democrats most of the time, right?
Yeah,
They're not good for anything most of the time. They just like to be the guys in the middle, getting in the way of actual progress. And it's a sad view to see.
yeah.
And but anyways, we got Joe Biden actually
I,
getting the
right before that, though,
go ahead.
if you want to know how crazy progressives are, how good progressives are, every idea that was floated by Bernie Sanders is popular. Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, and even legalized marijuana. But he wanted marijuana, but there were states, I forgot which one, was it Minnesota? I forgot what state it was, that
Oregon, I
legalized
think.
all
Oregon,
the drugs.
Oregon,
Yeah, they
Oregon.
legalized all the drugs. They're like, F it. So it's like clearly there's one centrist here in this world, that's in this country, and that's Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
The centrist Democrats are actually right wing.
we seen the actual metrics where they show that someone like Bernie Sanders is actually very in the middle of like
Yeah,
leftist politics all over the world. Like if you were to measure Bernie Sanders politics compared to people in Europe,
right.
they said, look, Bernie Sanders is pretty fucking centrist to me, bro. Like
Yeah.
he has a lot of centrist ideas compared to the ideas most politicians have here in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, think about it,
Uh,
right? It's like so the four states that legalized marijuana, okay, was New Jersey, Arizona, Montana, South Dakota. Another one that legalized it for medical use was Mississippi. All right. The one that legalized all drugs was Oregon. So you have a mix of red states like Montana, South Dakota, and Mississippi, and blue states like New Jersey, obviously California and Colorado, and purple state Arizona. All of them said, "Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to smoke weed. That's what I want to do." And yet, for some strange reason, you have politicians saying, "No, I don't believe that is. I don't think we should do that." Who are you? Like, who are you? Like, this is the problem. Like, that's the problem. Their sole job is to do what the American people tell them to do, and yet for some reason they're against us. Well, we know what the reason is money.
It is money, and also the fact that police gets away with just incarcerating people or sending people to jail or putting people fines in here and there for simple just having 1 gram of
Oh yeah,
weed.
private prisons. Yeah, private
Yeah,
prisons is a huge, huge part of that.
yeah. That's why all these states are legalizing marijuana and other drugs because people when they get caught with drugs, they don't get caught with like 1 pound of crack and weed or all. They're not like smuggling drugs like people think they
Right.
are. Yeah, I mean,
Like 12 bricks in a
yeah,
trunk. Yeah.
they're consuming the drugs obviously, but
Right.
it's very little, and they're getting sent to prison for many
Right.
years, 50 years, 60
Sometimes life.
years. Yeah, something life in prison for
Yeah.
carrying 2 ounces of fucking marijuana in their pocket.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because they ruin entire lives.
Of
They
course.
charge the bill to us because obviously we're paying this with tax money, and we're not like in the long terms we're not really doing any progress whatsoever. If
And
anything,
this is after decades. Because I want you guys to know, like, this is of course is uneven, right? You have three strike laws for everyone who's average. If you're like you or me or Ray, you go to jail for 50 years. But the open secret, right? Because everyone knows of all the cocaine that they do on Wall Street, and everyone knows they do a lot of cocaine on Wall Street. This has been known for decades now, right? Magically they never go to jail. They'll bring a brick of cocaine, right? Hell, even some of those banks even smuggle drug money for a cartel, terrorists, right? Breaking all kinds of international laws, not even just the United States, but multiple countries, right? They bring a brick of cocaine to have a party in the office, and they're perfectly fine. They don't go to jail at all. They don't even see the inside of a jail cell. But you carry like what, a little 2 ounces of marijuana, they'll put you up under the jail. Okay?
yeah, you be like the citizen. You just gain a new citizenship, bro.
Right.
1 pass free to go to jail. Yeah, and
Exactly.
yeah, that's obviously something that we're grateful that it's changing. We're glad that people are beginning to wake up and going out to the booth and voting in favor of legalizing marijuana and hopefully legalizing all drugs like Oregon did, right? And this is a good step forward, at least in this direction, at least for
Yeah.
this
The next for those
one
states who
issue.
legalize marijuana, next time it's
Yeah.
time to vote, just blaze it up inside the voting booth. Blaze it up inside the voting booth. You deserve it.
Anyways, guys, let's transition to another issue, and this issue is the one currently at hand. Coronavirus is just destroying the United States. It's gonna bring down our economy once again at a certain point. We know that the Trump administration doesn't care anymore. They literally, I think Donald Trump most of the time right now he's spending it at the golf,
Yeah,
playing
of
golf and
course.
whatnot. And obviously has given up on battling the coronavirus. That's why it's just going rampage throughout the whole country. States are beginning to break their stats when it comes to like the coronavirus. People getting essentially coronavirus, people going down to getting tested for coronavirus. There's
Yep.
these huge lines, essentially here where I live nearby Kaiser Permanente, and in the morning, just huge lines already. People just trying to test out if they had COVID or not. And especially now that we are in the weekend of Thanksgiving, the major advice is for everyone not to go and visit their family members and not to gather up in huge groups inside the house. If they're going to do that, there might be less than 10 people outside, but a lot of people are not hearing the advice, are not hearing what a lot of health experts have to say about this, and they are actually traveling. A lot of people are traveling to see their
Two
families.
Over the weekend, 2 million people flew by airplane to go see their family this weekend. What the weekend has just passed, so they're clearly traveling. Please don't.
Yeah, don't do that. Like right now, I'm gonna play a little clip right here in the side. We had about almost 150 thousand people getting COVID by day, about 85,000 people getting hospitalized because of COVID. A lot of ICUs places are being full. Like most people, most doctors, most health experts are saying that by this time the ICU units are gonna be full to max capacity by next week if this keeps going this way. Unfortunately, we could just expect the worst to come because
Yeah.
people are not listening, man. Especially, I mean, I keep saying especially. Uh, um, for example, here in Los Angeles, here in California, we have Governor Newsom giving this huge curfew, right? We are under
Yeah.
a curfew where we can get out after 10 p.m. And
Yeah.
when a lot of like conservative Republicans or a lot of Trump supporters heard this news that there was going to be a new curfew and we couldn't get out after 10, they immediately went out on protest. Like
Right.
there was
And
this massive protest right here again. I think it was Redondo Beach and Santa Monica, all these like boulevards, all these streets of people, full with people, to Trump supporters with their flags, saying, "Oh, you guys can come and get me. We are like this is our rights to come and protest." No one was wearing masks, by the way, because they
right. I
also hate
mean,
the idea of wearing masks.
yeah, we're Los Angeles, well, California in general is about to lock down for the third time this year. Every time we're about to open, some crazy things happen. The first time we closed down because it started opening back up. You had the protests, forced another lockdown, right? We started opening back up again. You had the Dodger and the Laker party, plus the parties for Trump losing, spiked it back up. Now we're closing down a third time, and that's really the problem is that it's just too many people. It's just too many people going out, not really respecting COVID. Like, and I think that's what it really comes down to is that people look at the death rate, right? And this is the problem with data on a piece of paper, right? Uh, People look at the death rate. They say, "Oh, it's only 5%." Yeah, 12 million people have been affected in the United States. Only about 300,000 died so far. I think it's like what 350, 260. 1,000 have died so far. You say, yeah, that's not even 1%. Sure, okay, you're right. It's not 1%. But the thing is that that's still a lot of people, and someone has to be part of that statistic, right? It could be you, it could be your loved ones, right? The more chances you take, the more likely you are to make yourself a part of that statistic when it comes to death. We're already losing like 2,000 people a day at this point. We're getting what 200,000 infections every single day now, and we're on track. Remember what we said in April that we're on track to see 1 million deaths from COVID in the United States. We're doing the worst out of every country, despite being the richest. We have no stimulus bills. In fact, the Republicans just went on vacation. Um, it's crazy. Like this is I don't know what happened in this country, but the fact that people don't have respect for facts or even logic, it just blows my mind. Like there's people like we did a story just last week, where you had people who had COVID dying, saying, "Nah, it's not real. I'm gonna get up and I'll be out of here tomorrow. It's just a cold." It was like a cold doesn't put you in the hospital like that, my guy. A pneumonia can, but a cold won't. And the nurse was pleading with him like, "Hey man, you're not going to survive. Call your family, please. Just call your family." He's like, "Nah, I'll be fine. It's not real." And then you have some people say, "Hey, no, I don't have COVID-19. I have lung cancer." And it's just like, bro, like really? Like is it really that hard for you to understand? Like this is not a joke. Like how does a virus become politicized? I just don't get it.
And it's sad to see because it's not just people that are reluctant to hear the facts about the situation with COVID-19. Even those people who understand the situation they're in, they still choose to gather in large groups to have parties at home because they really think that the worst has already passed.
Yeah.
I see still a lot of my friends having parties
Why?
getting drunks with their families and aunties and cousins and whatnot. And it's like, bro, like, don't you see that there's this huge pandemic going on? That
And that's the
even if during that party no one gets COVID, like you putting yourself at risk, you putting your family at risk of a potential like huge breakout of COVID-19 at your household because
right.
it has happened, right? It has happened when just
Of
one
course.
person has COVID, and then the rest of 20 people in that party gets COVID because of that,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
there was a guy who I think it was actually a woman who felt like she got super depressed because she didn't heed the warnings, gave COVID to her I think her grandparents, and they died. Both of them died, and she felt guilty. And then it was like, and then it was just like one of those things where it's like, why didn't you just respect it? Like, why don't like this is one of the things of the information era, right? Like in this era, right, the information era, we have all this information at our fingertips, but for some strange reason, no one wants to listen to it. And it's just like, I don't get it. And but then it's like this could have been if you're tired of being locked down, this could have been over in May had we just listened in the first. Like all they said was 3 months. Just give it 3 months. And everyone's like, nah, I don't want to give it three. Life too short. Blah blah. I want to go out and party. I want to do this. I want to do X and Y. Then it got extended 6 months. Oh no, that's cool. See, why did they extend it? It was like they extended it because you didn't listen the first time. So they gotta do it a second time. No one listened again. And now it's extended 9 months. And they're like, oh man, see, this is not real. They keep doing it. It was like, of course they're gonna keep doing it. You haven't listened yet. Like, stop going outside without a mask. It's just not that complicated. Stop having large gatherings. I mean, you hear it, and the reason why you see us getting so angry about this is because we're tired of hearing the stories about it. I mean, you had a woman at the beginning of this, right? Young woman, I think she was like 24, younger than us, and she just survived cancer. She was like, oh, that was a new lease on life for her. She survived cancer. She beat the odds, right? Well, actually, no, most people survive cancer, but she survived it, and she was happy. Her parents were happy, and they said, hey, let's go to a COVID party. And she died of COVID because when you have cancer, you go through chemo, it suppresses your immune system, and when you have a compromised immune system, things like COVID can kill you.
Wait, a
And so she
COVID party?
went to a COVID party, yeah,
A
because they didn't think it was
COVID?
serious. So they said, "Hey, let's just party with our mask off." She got COVID, and then on her deathbed, she was like, "Oh, I think I made a mistake." And it was like, "Bruh, I'm tired of hearing that. Like, I'm tired of seeing that. I'm tired of hearing about it on the news every day. Tired of hearing about people losing it, losing family members in real life. Tired of seeing it on Twitter. Tired of seeing it on Instagram. People dying of it. It's just put the mask on, all right, and go about your business. It's
Yeah,
not people are
yeah,
not taking away your freedom.
yeah.
They're just saying, "Hey, for just this one time, just 1 or 2 years." It's like I tell people, just 1 or 2 years, you put on a mask, and for the next 48 years of your life, 50, 68 years of your life, 80 years of your life, you probably never have to do this again. But people would rather sacrifice that last 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of their life just to prove a point. And I'm just like, I don't why? Why are you doing that? Like why are you sacrificing, a lifetime for just a year or two of not wearing a mask? Because even if you survive COVID, it's been linked to lifelong issues, lifelong health issues, lung damage, heart damage, brain damage, right? And it's just like, is it worth it? Like, is it really worth it to be struggling to be breathing for the rest of your life? To have because your lungs are so scarred, to have to worry that, hey, you might end up dying in your 50s because your heart was damaged, right? Like it's just crazy, man.
Yeah, and then we have people like this, Charlie Kirk, by the way, who happens to be a very conservative figure in politics, and he has a YouTube channel and all, and he has this huge following, because of the breakout, the breakout of what's it called, the protest that there were because of um the things that were going on here in California because Governor Newsom said like we're under a curfew, and all these people who went out to protest. he had the balls to come out and say it's time to disobey all orders that violate our natural rights. No more curfews, lockdowns, or authoritarian measures. Disobey, resist, defy, open America, and obviously with an exclamation mark at the end. And it just like, and then people obviously, you got Bosch, who happens to be a lefty political figure. He says, "Oh, so much for law and order now, right?" And he's just laughing his ass off because of that. Because like people like this like to say, "Oh, now is the time to disobey," right? When a huge pandemic is like hitting the whole country, people are dying in thousands of numbers. Now is the time to go out there and say, you know what? This is the time. This is the time to rise up and say, this is enough. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to do a curfew. I want to go out at 10 p.m. if I want to. I mean, I saw a clip of this Trump supporters going out like if nothing was happening. They were like in the backdrops saying,
Right.
"Oh, fuck the police." And you see the police cruising down their neighborhoods. They got off and they start beating the shit out of them because
Wow.
because like, "Oh, you don't want to go?" Is they go back home? They gave him like 3 fucking warnings to go back home, and he didn't want to. So they arrest him and they beat him. They didn't beat him
Yeah.
like you think you will beat him, but
Oh,
they beat him down a little bit and they arrested him because they didn't
okay.
want to go home. But that's what's gonna happen when you're a jackass. But the day when they went out and protested were like a huge parade of people wearing the Trump flags and the U.S. flags, saying that they were free at last, and this is the God-given right to go out there and protest without a mask and say
Right.
nothing's gonna happen to me. And obviously, we have all these, cases going up of COVID because of people like them,
Remember
right?
Herman Cain died after a Trump rally, after catching COVID from a Trump rally.
Yep. Yeah, he
So,
died.
so
He's no longer here with us.
yeah, I mean, this is, to be honest, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this. This is the last thing I can say. Like you have low odds. All right, you have low odds. You have weather, right? You have natural disasters, earthquakes, such. Asteroids can fall out of the sky. Meteorites can fall out of the sky. Sinkholes can open. Um, Animals can attack you. Insects can attack you. Um, your diet may be poor, right? You may be born with certain conditions. You have so many things in this world, in this universe that are trying to kill you. Time will kill you. Why make it easier? Like why make yourself an easier target? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think it's a test. If you want to go out there and put yourself at risk and your family at risk, well, be my guest, because some people only learn through making the mistake,
But that's the
right?
thing. I'm not that
And
kind of person who wants to see someone learn their lesson
yeah,
when
yeah,
they're
yeah.
about.
We all want to, like, for my brother, for example. He's not that kind of guy, but sometimes he only learns through making the mistake at first, and after that, then he corrects himself. But
But
you
that's
know,
the thing. This is. I get what you're saying, but this is like climate change, right? You only get one. Once the mistake is made, from there you got to get lucky. That's it. You hope, because that's the thing. Like you have to be like, you got to pray that you're not one of those 5% that get, or 0.1% or whatever the percentage is. I forgot, 0.5% of people who die from COVID once you get it. That's all you can do is hope. And then, climate change, same way. Once climate change starts, hope that you can survive long enough to see something. To be honest, if climate change happens, we don't know how far it's going to go.
yeah. Obviously, climate change is something else, but I thought I was talking about
Of
COVID.
course.
But
Oh no,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm just saying, like, once
yeah.
you like those kind of things, it's just once. It's a one chance. Once you get COVID, you may learn a lesson. If you don't, you have to pray that you're one of those people who survive COVID to learn that lesson. Otherwise, GG.
Yeah. So, guys, this has been the podcast for today. We are like almost at the point mark of 1 hour.
Nice.
Thanks for listening to us. Make sure to stay tuned. We're gonna keep uploading videos now to YouTube. Also, check out our audio files on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. You could check out the whole podcast there. You don't have to really come in here on YouTube and watch it. But that's for all of you who do not know that, but now you do. Thanks. Subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be keep uploading more content real soon now, since now we're putting the podcast up in YouTube. Any last comments, Kenneth?
No.
I think you said enough, right? All right, guys. Peace. Take care.
Peace.